are at the Thank you, thank you.
Well, I just asked Louis to use his sports voice to help calm you all down. But I'm Elijah, at current SU Press, and this is Louis. And I just want to say before we start, a massive congratulations to you all for being brave and putting yourselves forward and doing what you're all doing, and to your great campaign teams.
Yeah, just reiterate, like, standing is a massive thing. So massive well done to you all. I hope this week goes well for you. And yeah, good time. Cool. So thank you all for being here. Format for today, pretty simple. All 7 FTO positions will be speaking tonight. Every candidate will have a 1-minute opportunity to introduce themselves at the start, and you'll all get a 30-second nod. And then if I have to cut you off, or if one of us has to cut you off, it's not personal, but we will have to do that. After that, there'll be questions from both Raw and Boar, and then we'll be able to open it up to the floor as well for any questions that may be elsewhere. You'll all have a minute to respond to those questions. Only a reminder from us, if you're asking a question, please make sure it's able to be answered by every single candidate. It has to be addressed to everybody.
We do have a planned access break at 6 p.m. So for those who are fasting because it's Ramadan, if you want to break your fast at that time, or if we overrun by, you just feel free to go out and just come join us after you have broken your fast. So
cool. Shall we get going?
Yeah.
Shall I start? And then...
Yeah.
Cool. Right, first up, we have the VP Welfare and Campaigns candidates. So we have Dave Pomeroy, Dia Gupta, Harry Paget, Jack Thompson, Khadija Malik, and Tyler Wang Sabo. So we have 3 of... Amazing. 5 candidates with us today. Thank you, guys. Right. Is the clock ready?
It feels a bit silly, but I'm enjoying it.
Is the clock ready? Are we ready on time? Somebody time? Shall I time?
Wait, can I just ask if I'm going first? Like when you're preparing for it?
We will go in order of that list.
Okay, cool. Okay.
So first up, Day, if you'd like to start speaking now.
Okay. Hi, I'm Day. Let's be brief because I only have a minute. We need to split welfare and campaigns up because campaigns have been undervalued in this role for too long. Firstly, welfare. We need a holistic view of welfare. It's fundamental to our time at work because it's how we live day to day. Here are some of my main points. Ensuring housing and financial security. This means guaranteed accommodation for first years, university-backed guarantor scheme, price caps on food on campus. Academic welfare. This means giving STEM students a reading week, implementing part-time courses, and making welfare booklets. Campus culture, that's more holistic. This means giving more money for well-being, drop-in hours for SU Advice Centre, and more sober spaces and club nights. Then campaigns. We need to overhaul the system and start again. Our current system just doesn't work. We need to start thinking in campaigns in terms of what they are, whether they're financial, social, or political. I want to work with all aspects of student campaigns to try and affiliate them into the SU system, because campaigns don't deserve to fizzle out. They deserve to be embedded into the permanent SU structures so that they can achieve their aims. And finally, it's a new day for welfare and campaigns.
Thank you, Day. Dia, if you'd like to go now. Is Dia with us? Okay, in that... Right, we'll go on to you, Harry, then. Harry, I'll give you a wave when you've got 30 seconds left, if you'd like to start now.
My name's Harry. I'm a third-year English lit student. I'm also one of the current co-disabled officers, so I'm a part-time officer right now at the SU, and I think that is kind of something that sets me apart from the other candidates in terms of the experience I have with what is currently going on in our SU. My policies are kind of based around renewing campus nightlife and improving transport options, especially with the first years off campus this year. I think that the university has definitely let a lot of first years down in terms of the provisions it's put in place for how we're integrating people into both the SU and just social life, which is not good for welfare. I also would like to have emergency mental health first responders on campus. I think it's really, really important, and there's maybe a question about this tonight about kind of how we're taking care of people who are living on campus. I also feel like it's really important in terms of supporting marginalised groups in the face of DEI cutbacks. I think campaigns and things like that
Thank you, Harry. Thank you very much. Amazing. Jack, if you'd like to go when you're ready.
Hey guys, I'm Jack Thompson. I'm a third year history and sociology student. I'm going to keep this brief, obviously, because we don't have a lot of time. But basically, with welfare and campaigns, for me, my main focuses are on campus culture, student costs, and career support. So regarding campus culture, it's about improving the effectiveness of our safety services, improving our sustainability practices, and incorporating student creativity on campus, as well as developing and promoting a range of student events on campus and increasing the diversity of these events. In terms of costs, it's about developing a resource to help students budget and to push the SU to reduce their prices. And then regarding careers, it's about promoting career-focused events from societies and university departments, as well as looking to develop a fund to support disadvantaged students and their ability to engage with internship schemes and work experience opportunities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jack. Khadija, when you're ready.
Hi everyone, my name is Khadija Malik and I'm hoping to be your next VP for Welfare and Campaigns next year. For the past 3 years, I've been heavily involved in campus. I've been exec for Ward Future Female Lawyers and for Plan. And the reason I'm running for welfare, I think, is something very genuine to me. As someone who has regularly struggled in these 3 years and accessed well-being, I've had the privilege to not only witness the best parts of the system, but systems and areas that need genuine improvement. And I get how lonely that can be for a lot of students, and I don't want any student to feel lonely, whether you're a home student, an international student, or a non-traditional student. That does not matter. And I think that really goes into my manifesto points of really addressing counseling and support wait times for well-being, addressing and improving signposting for the support available to the students, and including and having targeted support for international students, non-traditional students, and accessible communication, all available on my manifesto on the SE page.
And thank you, Khadija. And last but by no means least, Tyler.
Hello, I'm Tyler, third year politics and sociology. I don't actually have my phone on me, I left it in my coat, so this will be from the heart. When I came to Warwick, I was terrified. I thought I was the only person who wasn't excited to go to university, and now I realize there's so many other people like me, so that's why part of my initiative is to help both students transitioning into uni life and out of uni life. And as a neurodivergent student who's been in and out of wellbeing, residential team, SU Advice Center, etc., etc., I know that these systems sometimes can be helpful and sometimes they can actually make you feel worse. And I don't think it should be a gamble on your well-being when you reach out for help. In terms of campaigns, I want to continue a lot of the really successful campaigns we've seen so far, like end period poverty and campaigning for freezing bus fares. But also, 10 seconds left. I want to protect the right to protest for students for what they believe in.
Thank you very much, Tyler. Thank you. So we've had all our 1-minute introductions. Thank you all. We'll go to the board first for their question.
So our first question is, in a board survey last year, only 52% of readers said that they would go to the community safety team about their concerns regarding or experiences of sexual misconduct on campus. What can be done to increase this number and increase trust in the community safety team?
Okay, amazing. Tyler, we'll start with your response. You have a minute.
Yeah, sure. I think currently is community safety is more acting as sort of campus security, so we're not necessarily trained to deal with these things. And also, similarly with report and support, there's too much of a culture of treating people who report as almost kind of they've done something wrong just for reporting, and they get questioned, interrogated, and it's almost re-traumatizing. So I want to look into that and make it feel that survivors are supported rather than being made to feel almost guilty for speaking out about their experiences and that they have to hide in a way.
Thank you very much, Tyler. Thank you. Jack?
1 second, sorry. Okay. So yeah, it's really concerning that almost 50% of the student body feel like there's a barrier between them and community safety team. Part of my manifesto does touch upon this issue about focusing on improving safety on campus by means of an investigation of the effectiveness of these safety services. We know that the community safety team is given training on sexual violence, but we should question the quality of this training. I definitely push to see more student involvement in the creation of this training to make sure it meets the needs of the students. This would also make students feel more connected to the team. It was also mentioned in that article that there's a lack of forward-facing female officers in the team. They mentioned there was only 10, now there's only 8. So therefore the issue is still relevant, and therefore I pushed for the amount of women in this team to be increased. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, this is not a surprising statistic, right? If any of you are on social media in the last few years, we've had Instagram posts like Riot, who continuously push that sexual misconduct and misogyny has been continuously embedded into our system and into our university, and the culture is not changing. I think that there's been work that I would love to continue that's already looking at how we're separating community safety from a well-being service and a security service, because a lot of these times when these reports happen, they get flagged as security services, and the well-being provisions are not actually being provided as a first response. Therefore, people aren't going to come back. That's the exact same with report and support. If people do not feel like they can be kept anonymous during this report, then they will not report. There's a huge growth of people reporting after they leave university because they do not feel safe. So working on continuing that and actually including, I'm done.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you. Right, Harry, when you're ready.
Yeah, I mean, I think like, especially after what Dave was saying about like the separation of safety and security, I think that's part of why one of my big manifesto pledges was about having mental health first responders. I think community safety as a service are also like often not seen as someone you go to outside of any kind of emergency. And I think especially with sexual misconduct, services like report and support and things that are university led, there are kind of questions or like anxieties around who you're speaking to, where that's going to go, what then happens afterwards. I think especially with the fact that we have an SU advice centre that isn't affiliated with the university and could be handling these issues perhaps in like a drop-in sense, like I think there's not enough clarity around what the SU advice centre does. There's not enough clarity around how to access it or how those appointments are kind of structured. And I think the same can be said for report and support. So I think it's important to have more accessibility of information.
Thank you, Harry. Khadija?
I mean, I guess everyone made the most amazing points. Everyone here is so smart and brilliant. And I guess that divide between well-being and community safety like makes it scary to go to them. I remember when I went to community safety, I was terrified for like a fire alarm. So I remember like, I guess it's the matter of humanizing them, like realizing that they're people at the end of the day too. Like you could do so many ways through that. Like for example, telling people what community safety actually does, what they're there for you to help you with, and what actually happens when a report is made, what the timeline is made. So more solution focused in terms of structure and following through. And if I had the opportunity, I would definitely work with them to run clear awareness campaigns on what they actually are doing, what the reporting process looks like for the average person, and what student options are available for you, whether it's including anonymous reporting. Yeah, I blanked. Thank you.
Thank you, Khadija. So we'll go to Raw for our next question.
In the event that first year students have to be placed in on-campus accommodation again next year, what steps would you take to ensure they are supported and represented by the SU?
Sorry, was that off-campus accommodation?
Off-campus
Accommodation. We'll go the other way this time. So Khadija, if you would go first.
I'm like kind of shaking right now. Can I have a minute?
Okay, Harry, you have to go.
I mean, this is something that's on my manifesto. Like, I think we should have subsidised bus passes for first years off campus. I think it's kind of ridiculous to expect that to be an extra cost we're placing on them, and they don't really have any choice in the matter. I do also think that more kind of the SUs, the full-time officer team going out into like the Coventry accommodation to have drop-in like sessions. I think that's a really, really good idea. I think it's really important to connect those first years to campus, because there's such an essential part of your like fresher experience in terms of being able to connect with people in societies, in the kind of events going on. And I think in terms of well-being, it'd be good to have more of those drop-ins, maybe not just with the officer team, but also with the advice center. Maybe I think bringing the SU to them is maybe the best idea in terms of like having access to what that experience is like for them.
Thank you, Harry. Dave?
Yeah, I think that's some really wonderful points. I think what we need to acknowledge is that, like, the board has already done a reporting on this. There are enough accommodations for first years, and that it should be expected that if you are saying that you're going to give a university affiliated or university, whatever the words they choose, accommodation, that is provided to you on campus. I think one of the biggest ways of looking at this is looking at why people are being pushed to go back to on-campus accommodation in second and third year. In my example, I lived in Tossal in second year, and that was because I couldn't find a guarantor, because I'm estranged and I cannot get access to a guarantor. If we introduce a university-backed guarantor system, that would actually make it so much easier for people to look elsewhere than on-campus accommodation. If if that is set in place, then it also means that less students are in second and third year there, and more students in first year can be on-campus accommodation. Thank you.
Thank you. Jack?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what's been said so far. It really shouldn't happen. Like, first years really should have the opportunity to be on campus. During my first year, I was on Westwood, which obviously is a much better situation than being in Coventry for your first year, but it does pose a similar issue of being further away, more distant from the central campus. And I do think it can really damage your university experience, especially as a fresher, especially as a first year. I think part of my campaign, part of my manifesto talks about like improving the culture on campus with more diverse events and having student creativity imbued on campus, so more student art on campus, more student engagement with campus. So therefore students would feel more connected to the campus space, and therefore they'd have more love for it, they'd feel safer there, they'd feel more welcome there. So then, even despite some distance with them being in Coventry, they would feel more connected. Thank you. Thank
you, Jack. Tyler?
Yeah, I just want to echo what's been previously said. I think the university has really let first years down. I've lived on campus my entire time at university. If I did not live on campus in first year, I'm not really sure what I would do. So as has been already said, if there are enough rooms for first years on campus, why are the university offering them and then taking them back? I think that should be looked into. But in the case where people do have to live off campus in first year, then looking into things like subsidizing bus passes and having events where they live so they don't have to come into campus if it's too like time or money consuming. And yeah, there's a lot of issues with accommodation more generally, including rent, which I know a lot of people have mentioned in their manifestos, and that all needs to be looked into if people want to like have an enjoyable existence on campus, basically, on and off campus.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you very much. Khadija?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with a lot of things people have said, because at the end of the day, living on campus as a student is so central to your university experience. Like, I'm an international student and I've been on campus for the past 3 years of my life. But then again, that also raises questions for me. It's just like, why second and third years getting accommodation while first years are placed outside? Is this an issue of quotas? Do we need to put quotas on second and third years applying for accommodations? Because clearly there are enough rooms, but I feel like there's a sense of misallocation going on. Another point I think Harriet raised, great point, was about bus passes. Why are they so expensive, especially for students in first year? That's just an extra cost. And with the cost of living, everything rising up, like there's definitely solutions that need to be made towards that. And thirdly, I definitely think for students who have been placed outside of accommodation, they need more centralized support, definitely through the student union or by the officers directly, whoever is elected.
Thank you, Khadija. So that's all our pre-submitted questions. Do we have time for questions on the floor? I'm looking for guidance. Anyone? Do we have time for a question? No? Okay, so thank you guys. We'll have to move on.
They're not going back.
It's meant to be 2 questions, Taki. Yes, exciting.
The viewer said one. We were told one. Can, I need the thingy. I need the council thing. Yeah. Can we have the sports candidates, please, now? Guys. So thank you to the welfare and campaigns candidates. Now we have our sports candidates for Vice President Sports. We have Hugh Gunton, Nazrana Mekji, I hope I'm pronouncing your name. Yeah. Stuart Trance and Thomas Starr. So So for 1 minute introductions, and you will see a 10 second left sign there. So should we start from that side? 1 minute introductions.
Am I good to go whenever? Or?
Yeah.
So hi, I'm Hugh Gunton. I'm standing for VP Sports. I think the way I'd summarise my campaign is I have 4 key themes that kind of run under the strapline of Hugh for You. So my first key theme is to improve the sporting experience for all of the sport members. That includes those that just show up to rock up and play, whether they're a member of a club or if they're not even involved in sport at the moment in Warwick. My job is to make your experience better for 1 year. I think the kind of second bit that builds a lot from that is club execs do a fantastic job in actually building that sporting experience. And I think on the whole, the sport partnership don't do a good enough job at supporting them. And I think we can really push that to get in a better way, whether it's supporting them with coaching or running inclusivity sessions. And I think that kind of builds onto my third point, which is all about sport growth. We need sport at Warwick to be getting bigger, to be getting stronger, and that will lead to us having a lot more sports success. And that is why you should be voting Hugh for You at these SU elections.
Thank you. Can we have Nazrana next?
Okay, hello, I'm Nazrana and I want to be your next VP of Sport. So I've always been heavily involved in sports since I was like 4 years old, and being part of sport has always, especially as a woman who plays like male-dominated sports, I've always been able to find the sense of empowerment in sport that I've never been able to find anywhere else. And coming to university helped me find that even more, especially after I let go of that aspect of me during my A-levels. Being an international student in university as well, crazy intimidating, like coming to a new country, a new home. But being part of sport really helped me get through that and find a place of work. And because of sport, I'm able to sit here as an international student who was once intimidated and asked to be your next VP of Sport. My manifesto focuses on accessibility, belonging, and support. More questions, more detail, just have a look at my manifesto or engage with my Instagram, ask me questions. Yeah.
Thank you. And we have Stuart next.
Hi, I'm Stuart Rance. I'm a third year physics with astrophysics student, and I have loved sport since the day I was born. We all know Warwick is a academic excellence uni, and I believe we can also be a sporting excellence uni. The infrastructure that's been built over the last few years with Louis, and the infrastructure that will be built over the next few years with the implementation of the Sports Partnership Review, can really bring Warwick into a point where sport can rival the academic level here. I really think that student execs need more support from the Students' Union. As you said, the execs do a hell of a great job running clubs, running Bucks games, and some clubs don't get a support at all. So supporting student execs will allow sport to thrive here, as well as making sport more inclusive and more widely known across the whole university.
Thank you. And can we hear from Thomas now?
Hi, my name is Thomas. I'm running for VP Sports as well. Similar to a lot of what people have been saying here, I think one of the core issues that sports clubs have sort of been let down by is sort of the experience of execs. They've got so many execs are doing so much work, but then they're getting burnt out this year just due to whatever it may be, from just like lack of communication from the SU side, or just the sheer amount of work which they have to do from their end. I think that can be improved by the SU. So that can be from providing more materials to help the exec coach new members, and that can also be done through a review of the finances. So altogether, I think that is why you should vote for me, because I will look into these issues and fix them.
Thank you. Thank you for the lovely introduction. Should we get the question now from Ra first?
There is often a perceived culture of heavy drinking and humiliating initiations associated with sports societies. What involvement do you think sports society should have in maintaining a safe environment for students?
Should we start from this way and it's round out and Stuart sometimes?
Yeah. So this is actually something on my manifesto. It says encourage and support clubs with more sober socials. I was doing some interviews throughout the week, and I found that actually a concerning amount of people don't join sports clubs because of the heavy drinking culture, whether it's religious or whether it's social or whatever. I definitely think it's something that needs to be addressed. And I mean, who better to address it than your VP of sport, right? This is something on my manifesto, and I don't know if it applies to all clubs, but I definitely know that some clubs put very heavy effort into making sure that when in your handover booklet, it has to be that you have at least 1 or 2 sober socials per term. And maybe formalizing that and implementing it throughout every club is something that needs to be done. Making sure that everyone has like a sober exec at each one of your socials as well can make sure that, you know, people feel safe as well. So yeah, and look into it more, as obviously. Yeah.
Thank you. Stuart?
Yeah, I do agree that sometimes we can be perceived having quite big drinking cultures in the UK. I think it's something that's pretty impossible to get rid of. But I think myself as a sports VP should make sure that execs know that they cannot force any students to do anything they don't want to, and they cannot discriminate against those people that do not want to do those things. There are some people who would be willing to get involved and want to and enjoy that sort of stuff, but there's people that also don't. So it's about making sure that all the execs know they cannot force anyone to do anything, and making sure there are significant punishments for anyone who does try and force someone to do something they really don't want to do.
Thank you. Should we now hear from... sorry, guys. Shuffled. Thomas, yeah, sorry.
So I agree that there's definitely a perception of heavy drinking in sports societies. When I was welfare officer with Rifle, I was the welfare, obviously welfare trained, but I was also sober for every single one of the socials, or making sure that there was a sober and welfare trained person at all of the socials. And I think that is something which could very reasonably be put into pretty much every sports society from the role of VP of sports, and that's something which I would look to do if I get elected.
Thank you. Hugh?
I think what this question really gets at is kind of initiations. That's our big example of, in the UK, a high drinking culture event. And I think we've actually taken a step back on that in the last year, in that we've gone from a process where sports had to be risk assessed for these kind of big socials, and now we've taken that away and said it's up to you to make sure it's a safe and inclusive event. I can see why the SU wants to get away from it, but at the same time, you're then leaving a 19-year-old social sec who's not trained with the entire responsibility of making sure these big events are actually safely run. I think that's a step in the wrong direction. I think we need to actually be kind of, as we've already all talked about, empowering execs. This is a perfect example of where social secs need to be actually clearly supported on what makes a safe drinking event, as much as how many non-drinking events they have. And I think actually giving those kind of execs that actual support to make these events safer and more enjoyable for everyone is really key with that.
Thank you. Question from Boer?
Hi everyone. Our question is, Many disabled students feel sidelined from Warwick sport and unable to participate in equal measure. What steps would you take to make Warwick sport more inclusive for disabled students?
Should we start from you this side?
I think the most important thing with that is, I'm sitting here as an able-bodied man who's able to do all of the sports I want to do. I think the most important thing is we've got to talk to these students that are missing out, those disabled students that aren't able to engage. What is it that is holding them back? Is it equipment where they need specialised equipment for their sport and these sport clubs aren't providing them? Then let's look at local charities or partner organisations or schools that we could co-buy equipment with and allow that involvement. But I think it would be remiss of me to sit here and say I have all of the answers on that when I'm not experiencing that myself. The most important thing is we talk to students, whether it's disabled students or people from non-binary backgrounds that don't get involved in sport, and see it actually what it is that's holding them back and work to remove those issues for them, rather than just trying to impose from the top down these solutions, because most clubs will tell you that they want to get these people more involved. Let's work with them. Let's work with these individuals to actually be able to implement that.
Thank you, Thomas.
So I agree, it's quite a difficult question because for most sports clubs, the thing that's actually stopping them back from making clubs more accessible in this way is usually a funding issue. So for example, from when I've seen with rifle, I was trying to push, and we only got our first left-handed rifle of all things last year, right? It's just the shortage of funding from the SU, which is something, that's basically its own separate issue. But if we highlight the societies where it's best to, the sports clubs, which are best equipped to help sort of disabled people get into sports, then we can focus funding there to see which clubs can get basically the most efficient way to get disabled people into sports, which clubs we can focus on to get them into sports, and then from there we can expand it to the future.
Thank you, Stuart.
Yeah, I think it's obviously a really big issue. As a cricket exec this year, we were asked, can you make your training sessions more diverse friendly? And we didn't really know what to do with that because none of us have any experience with any different types of cricket. There are things available, but none of us ever played them, none of us ever really watched them or know how to facilitate them. So I think it's a point of training execs on how to actually implement these changes that can allow less able-bodied people to get involved in their sports and allow them to have the same experience that everyone else does at university. As well as Thomas mentioned, it is a funding issue. A lot of things can require some big equipment or a lot more stuff that as student execs we can't afford in our budgets. So I think talking to people who have had these experiences and finding out what they need is really key.
Thank you, Rajana.
Yeah, so just 2 weeks ago, I went to this event at Work Sport. It was called the Powerhouse Games, where it was just a bunch of us students from Warwick coming together with some paranormal or not paranormal, Jesus Christ, sorry, some disabled, slip of mouth, some disabled people to play some sports like sitting volleyball or sitting basketball or bocce. And I genuinely had a very enjoyable time. I think it's a very great way to get us all involved in, the sports that we don't conventionally play. But ultimately, what I've said, and I will keep saying, is that as everyone else here said, I personally cannot fully understand what it's like because I'm sat here as an able-bodied person as well, right? But ultimately, what my entire campaign is focusing on is that I'm focusing on listening and representation. So I want to be able to talk to all the part-time officers and everyone who's relevant to this issue and see what it is that they want to see from their VP of Sport.
Thank you. I don't see any pressing questions from the floor online. No questions. Thank you. Thank you to all our VP Sports.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, guys. Excellent. All right, we'll move on. Other side of student activities. Can our VP Societies candidates please come to the front? Have we only got 2 VP Societies? Either Ardi or Ananya here.
Ananya
Coming up
dropped
now.
out.
Sorry, there we are. Ananya dropped out.
Yeah, just three.
Just the three.
That was a great entrance, like.
Thank you, thank you.
You could have played that.
Ardi, everyone, thank you. Ardi, Ben, and Adam, thank you so much for joining us. Again, we'll start with the minute introductions, so we'll start from the top. So, Ardi, if you'd like to go when you're ready.
Hi everyone, my name is Adi Nandedkar and I'm running to be your VP Societies. Besides being a third year biochemistry student on the side, I've spent the largest part of the last 3 years being an exec member of a total of 5 societies at Warwick, with more than half of those being for the entire span of those 2 years. Now, having those roles, I basically spent most of my time involved in society work and working with the SU and having collaborations with countless societies across the categories of societies that we have at work. Now, beyond that, I've also worked independently with various societies like Line, Pride, and Warwick Creatives across campus with their publicity and their events. It's safe to say from all of that that I know societies and I know them quite well. Now, it is in my vision as the VP of Societies, I want to make the SU an easier place for societies to work with and create resources that will more sufficiently guide exec into their roles.
Ardi, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to cut you off there. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Adam, if you'd like to go next.
In case you don't know me, I'm Adam, the current VP for Societies. For the last 7 months, I've been getting through lots of what I promised last year. I've got the cogs of change in the SU turning, and some of the things I've done is starting a Term 2 Societies fair, advertising new funding opportunities to societies, overhauling exec resources, digitizing loads of manual processes, and lots of other things that I don't have time to say. And now that I've started, I want to keep that momentum going with another year. So my key pledges would be to end the Societies Federation fee once and for all, overhaul exec and SU communication with a new support portal, introduce participation funds for individuals to be able to take part in trips, balls, events, regardless of financial background, create a new events platform for all society events and a taster program, and lobby the university for institutional support. If you want to see these changes, vote for a candidate with a track record of results, vote Adam Societies.
Thank you very much, Adam. Thank you. And Ben.
Hi everyone, I'm Ben. I was initially inspired to run for VP Sox by seeing how the FTOs influence our experience at Warwick. And it's that really forms the basis of my campaign. Now, I could talk about my experience as a member and exec of various societies in the SU as a democracy assistant, a union awards host and nominee, and more. But I feel like I should be talking about some of my ideas and principles, what I would like as your VP societies. So my campaign centres around affordability, accessibility, transparency, collaboration, and opportunity. Mainly, I want to work to foster an SU that supports you in going to your competitions or award ceremonies, one that advertises your hard work and is as transparent as possible. Because I believe that societies are one of, if not the most important thing that you can do at Warwick. They provide you with the life skills and experience in a more practical way than sometimes even your actual degree can offer. And I believe that the opportunity that they offer to students and the safe, welcoming environment they provide means that they can feel like everyone has met their people. They have the largest amount of societies in the country, one of. And I
Ben, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to cut you off there too. Apologies. Again, thank you to all candidates for their introduction. I think we'll flip the order again. So if Ball would like to go first this time.
Hi guys, so my question for you is, Reform UK is seeing increasing support on university campuses. If a student group applied to create a society affiliated with Reform UK, would you support its approval, and how would you ensure the process behind approving the society was transparent?
So again, we'll start. Ardi, if you'd like to go first, and then we'll work along.
Sorry, could you repeat the question again?
Yes, of course. So Reform UK is gaining increasing support on university campuses across the country. So if a student group applied to create a society affiliated with Reform UK, would you support its approval, and how would you ensure that the process behind approving a society was transparent?
I do believe that as a student union, we can't specifically say that a political society can't exist just because we don't specifically agree with their views. So I would at least approve of the formation of the society. And in terms of transparency, I would like for people to know what our processes are and how we approve the society and how we the the discussions that happen in that.
Thank you, Adi. Ben?
Yeah. So for me, there's kind of two sort of key elements to this. One is that it is a recognised political party. So to some extent, we have a legal obligation to recognise it under law, which means also considering it properly in the society approval process. But also, I want to make sure that it's made clear that this doesn't mean support in any way. If anything, it's the opposite. Because I think that freedom of speech does not mean freedom from accountability. And it's better for us to ensure that we can hold political societies like Reform accountable like we have done in the past. And it would be easier to do that under SU affiliation rather than just a random person posting on an Instagram account.
Thank you, Ben. And Adam?
Yep. As everyone else said, I am very much against Reform UK's toxic political rhetoric, but I do believe that every student has the right to express their views and have a society for it. And as such, it would go through the same process as any other society would do through the Societies Forum, through the same process, which is published on the SU website already. So it's quite transparent how all of that works. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Adam. We'll go to Raw.
Societies often struggle to find storage space for equipment on campus, with exec members often having to haul equipment on the bus from home. How would you look to help support societies with these issues?
Adam, we'll start with you.
Yep. So far this year, I've been trying to work on this with asking the university for more storage space, as much as they don't want to do anything due to the dynamic situation with space on campus. But we've also been putting more cabinets and stuff into society storage, so I would continue doing this. And one of my big key pledges is to try and lobby for more institutional support from the University for Societies, which I think would, having a higher up strategic view on this would mean that we could get storage easier. Warwick volunteers managed to find some storage for nature conservation equipment. I think we should be able to find some more storage to support activities that 2/3 of our students engage with.
Thank you, Adam. Ben?
Yeah, I definitely agree. One of the key points in my manifesto was building on reforms, kind of like we've seen over the past few years, because society storage definitely has improved from a few years ago. But you know, stuff like that is all about really making sure that there's space available, and that's the main priority. So stuff like liaising with the university over where we can put things, because at the end of the day, a lot of societies can't function if they don't have places to store their equipment. And so it's all about kind of making sure that they have the allocated space and that they're free to do so in that space.
Thank you, Ben. And Adi?
Yeah, I feel the same way about making sure that the university can provide a space for societies to store their belongings. Because, for example, with Biosoft, we've managed to recently get storage in Gibbet Hill, which is a massive feat for us because all of our events are there, compared to having our stuff here in the SU building where we'd have to lug it all the way to Gibbet Hill. I think it would be good to have the university itself involved in how the societies run and store their own belongings.
Thank you. Do we have time for questions on the floor? Are there any desperate questions on the floor? Take one.
How would you guys, well, as like an exec member of a society that does like some really random things on campus with the uni, how would you guys support society exec members to do new and unorthodox things?
Start with Ben.
Yeah. So one of the main things in my manifesto is about accessibility and about building in programs to make sure that people try new things. So one of the ideas that I came up with was something called the Stamp Your Sock program, which will basically encourage freshers to try new societies that they might not have necessarily considered before and make sure that they stick with them, which means that societies as a whole are healthier, that they have consistent membership, higher membership, and building on things like that. So I'd probably look into something in that sense. But equally, you know, there's so many different ways that we can look at promoting niche societies as well as big ones as well.
Thank you, Ben. Adam?
I think it's a really good question because in the past, I think the SU has very much had a bit of an approach of finding reasons to prevent things from happening, but we have been slowly shifting towards trying to find a way to make things happen. I think I've got personally, I've got a lot of contacts and things to work out how things can be done because I've been around for a while. But also, it's about changing the mindset of staff to be able to try and find those ways to support things. I mean, some of the examples are like I had someone, I think, from Biosoc actually email saying, "Oh, I can't park in Gibbet Hill, the society parking permit." Turned out it was as simple as an email to estates, and they added in a car park in Gibbet Hill. So a lot of these things are easy. It's just being open to it and seeing if we can try and change anything, because usually we can.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Adi. Sorry.
Sorry, I do just want to clarify the question. Is your question about students experimenting with new societies or societies experimenting with new events?
Societies experimenting.
Okay. Based like on my manifesto, I did say that I wanted to create better explanations as to why we have why we do certain things with risk assessments and event planning packs. And I think that explanation can then allow societies to better cater planning packs for experimental events and explain to the SU why they can do stuff. And in addition to that, also improve the flexibility of reimbursements, because a lot of experimental events would have reimbursement requests that the SU wouldn't necessarily accept for. And I think that aim for me to be able to improve the flexibility of the SU in letting societies be autonomous in their own events and finances would help societies be able to have more experimental events.
Thank you, Adi. Thank you. I think we're going to have to move on now. So thank you to the Free Societies candidates here. Can you give them a round of applause? Next up, D&D.
I'm sorry for. Can we have the access break, like a 10-minute access break, and be back at 6:10?
You know your next now. Oh.
So this is 6, like 20 past 6. I guess it's half past 6. Thank you for doing that one.
Yeah, sure.
What are your questions?
Thank you to those who have come back from the break. Some have not. Can we have the candidates for Democracy and Development Vice President, please? Anmol Pandey and James Warney. So I don't think Anmol is here. Should we hear your 1 minute introduction?
Sure. Right. Hi everyone, I'm James Varney and I'm running to be re-elected as your next VP Democracy and Development at Warwick SU. This year, while being an officer, I've taken action on the buses, meeting with both Stagecoach and National Express, delivering a new late night NX service back from Cov, as well as more consistent late night U1s past Parish Church. I've also been leading on our democracy review and implementing ethical and sustainable standards at the SU. My first manifesto priority is to create an SU that works for you. That means upgrading the duck and the copper rooms, opening up the space above the duck zippies for students, and creating a functional and actually functional SU website. I'll pay our part-time officers a proper wage and implement the results of said democracy review. It's unacceptable that we can't even get to lectures, seminars, and back home again without paying hundreds of pounds to Stagecoach for terrible service. I'll continue the work I've done this year by forcing senior university leadership to take real action regarding Stagecoach. Carrying on negotiating with Stagecoach, I've currently got their regional managing director around the table and formally bringing back the SU's Better Buses campaign to continue this work into the future. On accommodation, I'll lobby for a rent freeze, especially for the cheapest accommodations and against any freshers being put off campus. And with 10 seconds left, my final manifesto priority is sustainability and liberation, which you can see on my manifesto. Make sure you vote Varney, because voting closes at 5
Thank you, James Warney. Should we give it back to Raw to ask the first question?
How do you plan on making students more closely involved in day-to-day SU decision making?
Yes, as part of the democracy review, that's something we really heavily considered in terms of what our forum structure looks like. I think as part of the work I've done more generally this year, I've been really trying to make sure this is a student-led SU, whether that be our operations, our societies, our work on sustainability, our democracy stuff, and making sure that power is in students' hands, not the hands of staff. And so I've done that at the trustee board level on student council. I'm sure many of you would have seen that work take place. I think it's a long-term project and really making this SU led by students, and not by the university or by staff. You know, we are an independent body, which just starts to act like one.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
If the students feel that the SU doesn't represent them, is the problem low engagement from students or a failure of the UB's democratic structures?
I think the problem is neither. I think the problem is that we don't communicate any of our wins or any of our work to students at all. You know, this year, I think as an officer team, we've done better on communicating what we've been up to students, but I think there's still so much further we can go. You know, most of the people in this room, despite being heavily engaged in the issue, wouldn't know, for example, what the education officers got us to, or what I got up to on my big committees in the university. You know, despite the fact that we are day in, day out delivering for students, you wouldn't know that. I think that's why people don't feel represented. part of it is a structural problem with things taking 2-3 years to happen, and therefore it's not easy to announce that. But we, as an SU, should be absolutely keeping our students up to date day in, day out. Additionally, I think one of the problems is that people don't necessarily know what we do stand for. I think part of that is, again, as this year as an officer, I've been trying to be really clear on what I do stand for, whether that be statements about George Finch to the bosses, making it really clear what I stand for. And if people disagree with that, then they're welcome to get involved in our democratic structures and challenge that, and I'd welcome that happening. But the fact of the matter is, we have to be clear as an SU what we stand for, and then people can get involved. And I think that's a testament to the number of candidates we've got this year. People either like or don't like us, but that's good because people are running to make things better and to do it the way they want.
Thank you very much. We do have a few minutes. Should we open to the floor? Any questions?
Just talk for a few minutes.
No questions? Thank you to all our VPDD candidates.
Thank you. Right, moving swiftly on. VP Edu. We have a question.
We have another question.
James, you want to sit down?
It'll be my pleasure.
I will be a leader.
Question?
I would like to know, if you're re-elected, is there anything you would do differently from what you did this year?
Am I allowed to answer that as an individual question, or considering it's only me?
To all candidates, Ron included.
Yeah.
What would you do differently?
If I was to be re-elected, the things I've done differently, I'd probably go further and faster, to be honest.
Hold.
I think.
No, we can't answer that one.
Well, no, we can't do that one.
Okay, we can't answer that question.
Yeah.
Do you wish to rephrase your question in a way that can be answered by all candidates?
Yes. No. Good question. As a previous and technically current BBDD, I would go further and faster. I think there's a lot more that we should be doing with the university. I think there's stuff that I know now that I necessarily didn't when I started 6 months ago. Whether that be stuff at the university level, relationships I've built up this year. And I think it's really important that I take advantage of those if I was to be re-elected as BBDD. The stuff like, most people won't appreciate, for example, the fact that the university stiffs us on the block grant. And that's something that, again, I'd love to really push forward if I was to be re-elected, and that's something I necessarily couldn't have done having only started 7 months ago. But I'd just use my experience, use my relationships, and more Varney, more BBDD.
Before I send James away again, are there any other questions for our DD candidates? No? James, thank you very much. Right, fantastic. We'll be moving on to our VP Education candidates. So we have Hindu Priya Chandra Vijaya, we have Navya Sharma, we have Nidhi Krishnamurthy Bhaskar, we have Raj Hacker, and we have Raven. If you'd like to take your seat, please, guys. So 2 candidates are joining us today. Thank you both. Amazing. You got a minute for your introductory statements. Raj, you are top of the list, so if you'd like to go.
Hello, I'm Raj Hacker. I'm a third-year GSC student. Quite simply put, I'm running on a campaign to improve educational standards. I want to lobby at the university level to try and help improve the mid-aim circumstances situation, try and standardize across all departments, get econ, for example, or physics self-certs. I want to increase office hours for students so they can get feedback for office hours. I have many candidates who have queued for office hours because students have been waiting and in the end I'm not getting any at all. I want to help students with the cost of living crisis by making sure that ending hidden fees while also trying to lobby to make sure that students remain on first year accommodations. I also want to support international students, given the rise of far-right racist rhetoric across the country, helping improve the visa situation while also reforming the monitoring point system that gets in the way of their education. And also I want to make sure fix the buses as they're terrible, and education is very important to make sure that your buses show up on time. Thank you.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you. Raven?
Hi, I'm Raven. I've been at work now for, this is my 5th year, and I currently sit on academic forum as one of the faculty reps. But what does that actually mean? Because if you speak to the student body, even speak to the SSLC reps, SSLC chairs, they a lot of the time will not be able to tell you what does a faculty rep even do, what is a faculty rep's capabilities. And this is broadly reflective of a wider problem across the entire university. The academic representation structure is fundamentally broken because if you don't even know who your contacts are at each level of academic representation and you don't know what they do, how can you expect your voice to be heard? I have experience sitting on these university committees that make these changes. I will make these points of contact known if you vote for me.
Thank you, Raven. Thank you. Right, we'll switch the order. It was Raw last time, so Bo, if you'd like to go first.
Thank you both. So the Vice President of Education role often promises big academic reforms, but most decisions on this matter actually sit with the university. What leverage would you actually use to influence change?
Raj, we'll start.
Yeah. Well, there's many ways to do this. Firstly, from a personal standpoint, I was the Environment Ethics Officer last year, and I sat on quite a few education committees, including the Education and Sustainable Development Committee. And I felt that like it was very difficult for me to understand where I was in those committees, what I was a valued member, and I now understand how much a valued member I am. In these committees, it's very important that the student representation is heard. That's one way. Another way is through the SSLCs, and maybe Raven makes a very good point. The SSLCs are not currently good enough, and they need to be reformed. I would like to see continue the work that Nanya is already doing with SSLCs to try and make sure that they can be represented students and also feedback can be heard from students in different departments and they know who to contact and know who to get to. I also think as well as the FTO team and the PTO team, you know, we're working within the SU systems to try and make the university a better place for students, and by consulting with those teams, and I can get my job done basically.
Raj, thank you. Raven?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Vice President of Education role often promises big academic reforms, but most decisions on this matter sit with the university itself. What leverage would you actually use to be able to influence change?
So I think something that's important here is that when the new Vice President for Education starts, they need to hit the ground running. There are several critical committee meetings, and the first Senate meeting, for example, that happened very early on. The reason I lead with that is because hitting the ground running means that we can empower our academic representatives across all levels of the university. And whilst we can dream big and we can aim big, it's always important to recognise not everything can be achieved by one person. Everybody's voices should always be heard. That cannot happen if, for example, you go to the SU website, you go to the academic representation section, and last year's names are listed. We need to empower everybody through the university. I am already integrated into that system.
Thank you, Raven. Thank you. Paul?
With the pending rollout of the attendance monitoring project, how will you help support issues that are disadvantaged by these measures, such as those with chronic illnesses or access issues?
Raven?
So I've already been involved in active discussions around the attendance monitoring systems, and this is something that has come up. Realistically, there are a lot of people that are confused over the university's messaging around the rollout of these attendance scanners, what they could potentially mean for monitoring points, what they could mean for visa implications, what they could mean for people who struggle to get to the lectures, or maybe don't find lectures to be the most helpful way of learning. I also think that generally everybody has an access issue with this, because if you think about it, if you're in one of the largest lecture theatres on campus, capacity 400, 500 or more, and you go from one lecture to the next, are we really expecting there to be no safety issues with 400 people leaving a lecture theatre and then 400 more people having to scan their cards? Even assuming that the numbers were accurate, assuming everybody scans the cards.
Thank you, Raven. Raj?
I mean, yeah, basically agree with a lot of what Raven was saying. I go a bit further as well and talk about how for students with disabilities, there's many problems associated with having to scan the card, and especially when you have that big crowd rushing into every lecture at the beginning. There's also the problem with, again, many things which don't really make sense. One is if a lecture is 2 hours long, does that mean that students have to scan in their QR code and then scan out again? It doesn't quite make sense towards the current systems. There's also the thing about surveillance of students on campus. Students should have a right to their own privacy and their identity, and having them being constantly checked in every lecture hall, seminar room that they enter is not a good thing. If this is about attendance to lectures, this is not going to make people show up to lectures. It's not going to make people, improve their attendance. And it also, if I don't bring my card into campus, I'm not going to sign on to a lecture. So why would adding these key card things make it so that you need to sign in and make you bring your card? So I want to kind of address the problem at its core, which is about making sure that students attend lectures that they want to.
Thank you, Raj. We are running over. Are there any burning questions on the floor? In that case, both of you, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Postgraduate.
We have our postgraduate candidates here. So going through the names, we have should be so when I call the name, those who are here, can you just raise your hand? Because there's a lot of names and there's only 4 candidates here. So we have Aditya, we have Arjun, we have Asha, we have Deepak, we have Grishmant, we have Jaden, we have Manya Gupta, we have Mayank, we have Nazneen, we have Ronnie, we have Vaishnavi Ravi, we have Tushar. So should we start with the 1 minute introductions, and should we start from that side, Ronnie?
Fantastic. My name's Ronnie. I'm a international relations master's student. You might know me from being behind the bar at the old library in Leamington Spa. Other than that, I have sat on Student Council, Societies Forum as the postgraduate representative. As part of these roles, I have been a staunch critic of attempts to minimise postgraduate reduction within the SU structures. I have represented the interests of postgraduates with regards to integration within societies. I have also been involved with a variety of different campaigns across campus. I've been active. I studied my undergraduate here. I've been involved in societies. I know this campus inside and out. I've spent almost every day of the past 4 years here, sometimes against my will, but oftentimes very much by my own choice. I absolutely adore this university, and I want to make sure that it's the best it possibly can be. So in order to do that, please rank Ronnie first for the position of VP Postgraduates. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, I'm Manya. I'm currently studying marketing and strategy, and I'm standing for VP Postgrads. I think student elections are one of those places where you can claim big, but you actually have the power to do so much. I think so. What I'm planning to do is to bring in a small change, but that affects daily life of postgrads. I want to bring in clarity. Postgrads, half of the time they're not aware of the opportunities, of the facilities that they have, and that's not because SU doesn't have them, or the university doesn't have them. It's because they just don't know of it. So my manifesto revolves around making them aware of things, what they can actually achieve, and how much of pool of things they have accessible to them. And what I'm planning to do is to have weekly updates with regards to these. And a lot of student stress comes because of the ambiguity of things, and I want to reduce that ambiguity and not add to the big load of resources that is already existing within Warwick, but to streamline them for students.
Thank you, Anya. Vash?
Yeah, I'm Vash, short for Vaishnavi. I'm running for VP Postgraduates for the second time. So I actually was the VP Postgraduate Officer back in 2023. I'm running again because I feel like there's a lot more I'd like to do within the Students' Union. So some of my priorities are to try and build a more inclusive postgraduate community, to improve communication between Students' Union. I would also like to engage with the wider campus, and I'd like to offer more possibilities So with the inclusive community, like one of the things I'd like to do is organize more events which are accessible to all students, like all postgraduate taught students, all PGRs, including international students and home students. I would also like to work with the postgraduate society in like 2 different departments and create a calendar that has all of the different events going on, so it's more easily accessible to postgraduates to like know what's happening at Warwick and to be able to find out that information. I would like to improve communications from the Students' Union by continuing with the weekly student newsletter, and I'd also like to attend like every SSLC.
Thank you, Ash.
That's postgraduate. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Arjun Chan, and I'm running for the VP PG position as well. PG students are a vital part of Warwick's academic community, yet many of our experiences, timelines, and challenges are different from those that are of undergraduates. My campaign is built around ensuring that PG voices are not only heard, but meaningfully represented in the Students' Union and the wider university. If elected, I'll focus on 4 clear priorities. Firstly, structural and stronger PG representation. Second, equitable access to opportunities. Third, career acceleration for PGs. And fourthly, but not the last, international and visa advocacy for all our international students. My goal is simple: to bring accountability, transparency, and active engagement to PG representation at Warwick. If you believe in stronger PG voice and real impact, I would truly value your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Arjun. So with me, it's Raw first. Sorry for.
Given the significant financial costs of postgraduate study, how do you plan on supporting PG students financially, especially those from WP backgrounds?
Should we start from Arjun this time?
Could you repeat the last bit?
Especially those from widening participation backgrounds.
Well, you're right. You're absolutely right that PG studies are often accompanied by extenuating costs. The way we'd support it is by ensuring that that cost doesn't seem to be going in vain. The way I'd like to do it would be to make them feel more included, make them feel more valued and supported throughout the limited time, which is a year compared to the 3 or 4 years for undergrads. I'll do that by, again, inducing structure and a strong representation for them. Secondly, give them equitable access to all the opportunities that Warwick already has to offer, which we all are aware of. Thirdly, give them a career pathway if they choose to want our help, so they're not left in vain and thinking that they spent all that money on essentially a piece of paper which is not worth anything.
Thank you, Vash.
One of the things I'd want to do is trying to like push for cheaper rent on campus and to work with the university to try and provide a scheme that would help students find like affordable rent on affordable places to live. Another thing I want to do is try and increase awareness of the hardship fund and ensure that that's accessible to all students. And I'd want to work closely with the WP officers and with other like student representatives and ensure that the current ways of like getting information out to students is fit for purpose, and ensure that the students that are affected by these the most have their voices heard, and ensure that they know that the system works in a way for the students that feel that it's not working for them. Like I'd want to make sure what they want to see in the changes is made to happen.
Thank you, Ash.
When I was applying for postgrad, I was constantly searching for what are the scholarships I have, and it led me to blank links. You know, I've put it on Google, I've put it on ChatGPT, and all the sources you could. But I think Student Union can take this up. We can make something that is so simple, so accessible for students that they don't feel lost. We should be the connecting point from starting. And you know, when you're applying for such big courses with such heavy expenses from so many backgrounds, you need support. You need somebody to tell you that you're doing okay and this is where you can do better as well. So one of the things in my campaign also includes providing clear information from the starting, where postgrads don't feel that once they come to Warwick, they start engaging. They feel connected with the union from the very beginning because we are providing them the resources and we have the resources. It's just making them aware of those.
Thank you, Anya. Ronnie?
Yeah, this is an issue I'm exceptionally passionate about. I mean, I come from one of the most deprived areas of East London. I'm from Barking and Dagenham. And I just think that the university needs to massively expand its range of financial support systems, but also emergency funds, because nobody should be priced out of education. Just that is a fundamental right that each and every one of us should have. And I think that, the hardship fund is a fantastic measure, but at the same time, with the cost of living crisis steadily worsening, I don't think it's enough. More has to be done to make sure that if you want to study a postgraduate, or if you even want to study an undergraduate, you have to be able to do it regardless of your income level. I personally know many, many people who were put off studying a postgraduate and decided to instead get jobs or work in the service sector simply because the cost and the debt that they were accruing was simply too much for them. They come from lower income backgrounds and just are unable to financially support themselves without working alongside their studies or depending on exorbitant loans that crush them with debt for the rest of their lives.
Thank you, Randy. Board question?
Hi guys. So many STEM postgraduates have long teaching hours in Gibbet Hill campus. How would you ensure that these postgrads in particular do not feel sidelined from the main campus life?
Should we start from Ronnie and just
I think this is an issue of the SU's attitude towards how it reaches out to postgraduate students. I think first and foremost, they cannot adopt an attitude of letting people come to them. We have to proactively seek out and make arrangements to make the SU more accessible to postgraduate students, be they PGTs or PGRs, based in Gibbet Hill, based on main campus. We have to meet people where they are rather than asking them to come to us. If that means rescheduling events, changing times, changing rooms, looking at where we're booking, looking at where we're trying to focus on, we fundamentally have to make sure that each and every person at this university can make their voice heard, and it's as easy as possible to do this. And one of the ways in which I'm promising to do that in my manifesto is making sure that as soon as you accept your offer to study here, you are provided with documentation that tells you exactly what roles, what structures you can stand for and within, and essentially just give you the complete full rundown of how the SU works, what you can do to make your voice heard, and to just make campus a better place for absolutely everyone on it.
Thank you, Ronnie.
So there are around 262 courses postgrad, and out of which 75 plus are the PGR, and the remaining being PGT. And a lot of them offer you to teach further, right? But students don't, because postgrad students are so busy with their lives, they don't have time to search through so much information that they're constantly bombarded with. What I plan on doing is concising them, putting them down into smaller bits, concise bits, so that they can skim through it, realize, okay, this is what matters to me, this is where I want to be, and go for that thing. And apart from that, there's something that I've noticed is that the timings, they are very different for postgrads and the events that happen. So aligning the timings better according to postgrad schedules is very important for SU, so that they don't miss out on postgrads that way. And apart from that, there are opportunities that postgrads can avail, and they just don't get to do it because they're not aware of it, and they need to be aware of it. And that's what I plan on doing.
Thank you, Anya. Flash?
So one thing I'd want to do, as mentioned in my manifesto, is I'd want to go out to all the postgraduate SSLCs and attend them to ensure that all these students know that the SU wants to listen to them and ensure that their voices are heard. And another thing I'd like to do is work with the PGR collective and ensure that we have these student representatives that have these GTA contracts and that work for the university, have their voices heard in spaces like the Board of Graduate Studies. Because I don't think that the PG officer should be the sole representative of all postgraduates. I think that those that are on SSLCs that represent their departments should be able to speak up in spaces like the Board of Graduate Studies, to be able to speak to the director of the doctoral college directly and have their voices heard in all these spaces.
Thank you, Ash. Virgin?
Firstly, thank you so much for the question, Bo. Now, this is a very important problem, and I have spoken to people who've been personally affected by this very problem. And as part of my structural and stronger PG representation, what I plan on doing for this is, of course, creating a system where, number one, we don't have to reorganize every single thing to align with just PG timelines, because let's be real, there's some opportunities which PGs, it's not that they don't care for it, they just don't have the time to spend on that, but they'd rather go on some other more important opportunities. Firstly, I'd like to create a clear differentiation and selection of opportunities which are more PG oriented and PG suitable. Beyond that, I would like to also know from PGs directly what their thoughts are, what problems they're having, which involves what Vaishnavi said, utilization of the SLC program in a more efficient manner and not just limiting it to the departments, but also bringing it to the SU so we can further resent and further take resulted action on these problems.
Thank you, Arjun. Any questions that can't wait? see no hands. Well, thank you very much for our Can we have
a minute for just a general statement?
Sorry. Can we have? Can we have candidates for president next?
Sit down. Go again, boss. Jim. Right, thank you all. We have 4 brilliant candidates for president. Alex Prepolita, George Waddell, Ilyan Benamor, and Ollie Chapman. So 3 of our candidates to join us today. One-minute introductory statements. Alex Prepolita, we'll start with you.
So you asked today, why am I running for SU president? It's because I really want to address 3 key policies from which my other ideas branch out of. Well-being, transport, and cost of living. So on the well-being side, I would like to provide a 24/7 service where free sanitary products can be provided from a safe space like the residential community team hub 24/7, as well as expanding other well-being services such as Senate House to run 24/7. On the transport side, I would like to introduce 24-hour buses so that if you go to a popular student hub such as Neon Smack or Casbah, in the event of an emergency, you're able to go home safely, especially for women who might experience harassment on the streets. In a place like Central Coventry, getting them home safely is essential for their health and safety. On the cost of living side, the inflation that has been plaguing our country for the past few years has made university students make grueling financial choices. To solve this, I'll make both necessities and enjoyments provided at SU cheaper and easier. All prices currently offered by the SU will be frozen by new related with the other Warwick Food Group to do the same for all SU and other campus outlets, and to provide the campus rent freeze funded by my 24-hour policy to run the SU and certain segments like Dirty Duck until
Alex, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to cut you off.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ilyan Benamor, and I'm running to be your SU Pres. And I want to represent a certain group of students that have been consistently ignored. Students that talk like me, that look like me, and that come from backgrounds like mine. My campaign is simple. I want better buses, double-deckers during peak times. I want a GPS system in every single bus and a freeze in the fares. I also want guarantors for all. I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but it's unfair that I've had 2 guarantors of mine denied simply because I have a mother who's disabled and can't work. The renters' rights are also consistently ignored. Students can get scammed by landlords left, right, and centre, and we need to do something about it today, as soon as possible. I want to create a blacklist of landlords that have consistently exploited students time and time again. And the cost of living crisis isn't talked about as much. That doesn't mean that it's not true. So I want better hardship microgrants. And finally, I want better financial transparency because the SU spends millions, but we don't really know where it goes. So please, if you want more, vote Benamor.
Thank you, Ilyan. Thank you. Ollie.
Hi everyone, my name's Ollie Chapman, and this year I have been your Vice President for Welfare and Campaigns, and I'm now running to be the next President of the Students' Union. My manifesto is very much focused in affordability and cost of living, with 3 of the points being to campaign for a campus rent freeze, to lobby Stagecoach for better reliability and fair prices publicly, and also to create a basic needs hub in the Students' Union. Some of the things I've delivered this year have been Food for Thought, which is an affordable food campaign, free STI testing on campus, the expansion of end period poverty, Menstrual Health Day, 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, the Know Your Rights campaign, and also representing Warwick SU nationally at certain SUs, also the National Emergency Briefing on Climate, and the All-Party Parliamentary Group for International Students. So the reason I've listed all of that is because I want to show that I'm someone that gets things done, and that if you elect me as president, the things I put in my manifesto will be delivered on, and I hope I get the chance to do that. So thank you very much.
Amazing. We'll go with you guys.
So a question a lot of students will want answered before they cast their vote. What do you think the #1 change that SU could make to support students is? Why do you think so?
Honestly, I would think that 24-hour buses and like safety is a thing that should really be in place at Warwick University, because of course in other major cities like London, where we have 24-hour buses and like you are able to get home safely, is a necessity, because you shouldn't have to choose between walking home and getting a £20 Uber, because of course for some students £20 is all they can spend in a day, and for most even less. So that most of the time they are priced out of options like that. And if, let's say, if like a student becomes like intoxicated or stuff like that, they lose their friends, then that could be a serious health and safety risk for them. And I do think that our well-being services need to be expanded both inside and outside of campus.
Thank you, Alex. William?
Look, everything is so bloody expensive these days. It's hard to get around from campus to campus to Lem or Cov, whether it even be going out with your mates for a pint or doing literally anything. If I just want to go play sports, I play American football, I'd spend 200 quid on just my equipment. My main thing would always be affordability, because that's what improves our mental health, our physical well-being. Whether that be a freeze in the fares of the buses, or whether that be, cheaper gym passes. My main thing is I'd fix the affordability and I'd help students with the cost of living.
Thank you, Lynn. Ollie?
I think we need to be bolder in the way that we support students. So, as I mentioned, I visited various SUs this year, nationally in England and Scotland, and something that struck me is that they take on that financial burden to alleviate the impact on students. I've made good progress on that this year. As I mentioned, I set up Food for Thought, where I've been delivering 3 free breakfast sessions a week for the whole of term 2, and also free events like Menstrual Health Day and free STI testing. I think we, as a students' union, need to be more comfortable, like other unions are, with taking upon that responsibility and offering non-profitable provisions, and that's why I'm pledging to set up a basic needs hub so that students can access things like nutritious food, smart clothes for work, and nighttime safety provisions like rape alarms and drink spike tests. And also I'm pledging to a huge increase in anti-spiking provisions in outlets, which is another cost that we should take upon ourselves, such as drink covers, more spike tests, and a safe space tent outside cop rooms. So that's what I think we need to be doing differently, because other unions are and we're not.
Thank you, Ollie. Go to Paul.
As SU president, how would you go about defending students' right to protest on campus, especially in the face of pressure from the university?
Well, this year I've had very difficult and firm discussions with senior university colleagues after student groups contacted me that police had been called on them at protests. Furthermore, I attended the George Finch event early this year, where I protested proudly using my free speech outside the building against the presence of the far right on campus. Admittedly, I didn't throw a shoe at anyone, but I'm not sure that's what people want an SU president throwing shoes at society guests. At this protest, police were also called. I had a conversation with them and campus security to make sure the students there were protected, and I made it very clear that nobody was getting arrested that day. I also intend to work with student groups to better understand the issues they're facing and raise this with senior university colleagues. And as far as I am aware, I'm actually the only president here who has engaged in genuine and organised forms of peaceful protest on campus, in the local community and nationally. And I will continue to have these firm conversations with the university and ask for clearer guidelines and a commitment to the protection of protest on campus.
Thank you, Ollie. William?
I'm the son of a refugee who once had a gun pointed to her face for daring to protest against radical Islamism. In the 90s, Algeria was under a black decade, as many would call it, and my mother refused to wear the hijab. They pointed a gun at her face and told her that she would die if she dared not to. I find the right to protest an integral part of society. Me personally, I have been arrested before at protests, and I have been arrested in general. I've had tear gas thrown at me, and I've been kicked over and pushed over by the police. I find it integral that students know that this is a union that will protect them and that will stand for them in moments that they choose to express their voice.
Thank you. Alex?
I do believe that, like the debate between free speech and hate speech is a very, very prevalent issue that campus sort of faces. And as a person who did protest on campus, I do believe that stuff like hate speech, where marginalized groups are repeatedly targeted and that sort of stuff, should not be allowed, whereas freedom of speech should be perhaps promoted. However, if it comes in line of any protected characteristic, I do believe that it should be not allowed, as we do believe that this uni is for all and it should be for all.
Thank you, Alex. We do have a little bit of time. Are there questions on the floor? James?
Every year, candidates for all SU positions promise very grand and ambitious things. How do you make sure that these things actually get done and aren't just empty promises, especially considering the financial costs the SU and the university are currently under?
Start with Ian.
Right. Well, one thing I want to make clear is that actually, as you mentioned, James, that we don't really show many wins at this university. We don't really know what's going on with the SU. I myself, I'm not a member, well, I'm a member of the SU, but I haven't been involved in a lot of the decisions. And that's because I'm still quite early into my time here, and ideally I want to be involved more with that. But we don't really know what's going on. I want to create much more transparency, whether that be financial, as mentioned in my manifesto, or that be in a more practical sense with an Instagram post telling us what we've done. I know that they do that already in the website. That's not really enough, is it? And it's hard. And the main thing I want to let students know is that they have to hold me to account, that they have to come up to me. And I want to put myself in positions where the general student body can come up to me and let me know how they feel, where their problems lie, whether that be in a routine, routine president to student talk, or in day-to-day life.
Thank you, Ilian. Ollie?
I think that's a very fair point, something I used to be very frustrated with as a student. What I want people to know today is that I've been doing this for a year. I know the Students' Union inside out. I've been a trustee. I've chaired subcommittees of the Board of Trustees of this union, and I've met with many senior university colleagues and had discussions and been in those rooms for the last 7 months. I've visited SUs nationally, as I mentioned, and this manifesto is based in evidence. I've gone to other SUs, I've been around, I've seen what they're doing well, and I want to replicate that here. This is not a manifesto based in grand ideas. It's a manifesto based in the reality of what I know we can achieve and what, if I'm elected as president, I will achieve over the next year.
Thank you, Ollie. And Alex?
I mean, I do believe that, SU treasury factors are quite important. So most of my policies are actually based on like liaising with other groups, whether it would be the Warwick Food Group, Stagecoach on the buses, or like any other groups which are involved in day-to-day Warwick life. So like some of my policies are like factored out by other policies. So stuff like a campus rent freeze or like a food rent freeze could perhaps be funded. And like all of my nightline policies about well-being and safety, with there being like at least one officer in the RCT and the Senate House, as well as community safety when it's normal, could perhaps be funded by like an extension of the nightlife, because of course the uni does have an alcohol license operational until 2 a.m. and we could use that to perhaps create more funds from like places like the Dirty Dark or the T-Bar, which at full capacity like could generate up to £1 million for the SU.
Thank you, Alex. Any other questions on the floor?
Yeah, a large part of being president is implementing policies, but it's also being a figurehead for the student union. What makes you think you're qualified for this responsibility?
We'll start with Alex.
I mean, I've been researching SU policies for like 2 months, so like I've just read all like the bylaws inside out for like at least for a minimum of 100 times, and I feel like that I can be a fresh voice on campus who because for the previous leadership, I would sort of like to be like because I'm like really involved in my year group, I feel like I can get students' voices quite easily from a very diverse range of backgrounds. Like I've met over like 2,000 people and been involved in 30 societies over my time at university. So I do feel like the uni would be represented like from all backgrounds if I'm elected.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah. So this year, in certain situations, I've gone out directly to students and spoken to them, and I want to repeat that going forward. So, for example, after the Arthur Vic fire, I went with the current president to go and engage with students and ask them what they needed from us. Also with provisions this year like SU and U, which we set up in the Students' Union, talking to students. And also my Food for Thought campaign has a massive outreach aspect of that, which is the sort of mobile cart. Also, I'm pledging to recruit multilingual student staff so that we can better engage with international students, because we do not engage well enough with international students. We have to think of ways to deal with that, and how better than to speak to them directly and get that feedback as we hear it. I also want to introduce a satellite SU, so a mini version of the SU at Gibbet Hill, and I think that's something we can definitely achieve with positive negotiations with the university. And again, that's another way in which we can get into an area we're not currently accessing, get that feedback and act upon it, and I'd be really pleased to do that if I was elected.
Thank you, Ollie. Ilian?
Being a figurehead of the university means representing us in very many different ways. I've been a member of a sports team. I got with my girlfriend the first time in the copperobes. I've been an exec in societies. I speak many different languages, including French, Spanish, and Arabic. And so I understand what it's like to be an average student. I'm still only a second year. If I were to win, I'd still have to do a third year. And I think that this means that I represent the uni in a very literal sense. I get to show and understand every single different background, including the background that I think is most ignored. I believe that the figurehead of the university needs to represent the university and understand what day-to-day student life is like. And I believe that I can do that quite well.
Thank you, Ilian. Any other questions? We've maybe got time for one more. Raven?
So I spoke earlier about empowering academic representatives throughout structure. There's no secret that the FTO positions are also very difficult ones to engage with. Are there any areas of improvement that you think you could implement to empower your fellow FTOs whilst running the student union?
We'll start with Ollie.
Can I just clarify, sorry, you mean how to make the role of actually being an FTO more accessible and how we can perform better as a team?
Being proactive in terms of what happens throughout the term
Yeah.
each FTO has.
Yeah, so I think we've done some positive things this year. Like, for example, all FTOs this year have been buddied up with a director, so we can sort of be better integrated into the departments and the staff team earlier on. I think what I would say is there's still not a lot of sensitivity towards the amount of time that a role like this takes. We obviously work a lot of extra hours on top of this. I'm sure the fact that many people in this room are running, you will have obviously spoken to current FTOs and they've told you about the long hours that we stay behind. I think we really need to get our staff departments into a position where they can adequately support us. That's a process we're undergoing at the moment, but I don't really see how the leadership, and especially the political leadership of the Students' Union, who are also tending to be very young, and also it's oftentimes our first full-time role. You need that staff support behind you. It's not where it needs to be right now, and I think the best way to do that is to actually give people a team to work with that can help them with reading their very, very long papers, that can help them with actually outreach into students and delivering their campaigns, because it's not quite where we're at now.
Thank you, Ollie. Ilian?
Look, I completely agree with Ollie. I mean, I haven't been in the position that he's been in before, but I do believe that one thing is clearly we need to act as a team. They're VPs, but no one's really the boss of anyone in that situation. It is a team, and it is a team of people who all have one thing in mind, and that's just to improve the university life for everyone, no matter how old you are. Another thing I want to make clear, we are a union of 30,000 something members. That has a lot of strength. In the UK alone, that ranks something like 20th. And I think we need to use that leverage and let the university know that they need to support us and they need to give us the adequate staff and the adequate training even to allow us to complete our roles to the best of our abilities.
Thank you, Ilian and Alex.
Yeah, I do believe that the team's idea proposed by the other candidates is good, with perhaps like, you know, the diversity of the deputies should be like increased such that they can be accessible to apply from all years, so from first year, second year, third year. And I do believe that like, you know, if we work with the students, that like the actual students from each course, I do believe that we can get like a wide range of facilities. And in terms of like accessibility for the PTO and FTO rules, I do believe that accessibility should be improved, because like before my candidacy, nobody had ever applied in their first year, and I do believe that, you know, that sort of thing has to change. If a person thinks that they will be qualified in their first year, my campaign is sort of seen as like a trailblazer for potential future freshers who do feel like they're qualified to run, and I do feel like, you know, freshers are discouraged to run just from the fact that, you know, there's sort of the stigma around it, and that needs to stop.
Thank you.
Thank you all for doing some answers.
Thank you very much. Well, I think that's us for the evening. Thank you all so much for attending tonight. It's been... It's been an absolute pleasure to hear from all the candidates. They're a reminder that their manifestos are all available to see online, where you can also vote. You have till 5 PM on Friday. I'm biased, but these are the most amazing jobs you could ever hope to have. So I wish good luck to all the candidates who are running, and I wish you all a great week. Is there anything to add to that, Chief?
You said everything.
Excellent. Get home safe. Have a very lovely night. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Very lovely.